Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today. We will be covering Ten Hag, reports coming out that he's preparing as usual for Brentford, despite the fact that they had this supposed meeting on Tuesday with ownership and all that. We'll discuss AC Milan's penalty drama. We'll do a preview of Conmebol Match Day 9 World Cup qualifiers. We'll discuss Luis de la Fuente's frustration with the Spanish Federation over his current contract after that win at the European Championship. And make sure you stick around for when I give my reactions to some of the top headlines going on in the soccer world. If you have a question during the show, we want to hear it. Your input is a big part of what makes this show successful, and we thrive on your energy and insights. So whether it's a quick comment, a thoughtful question, or an opinion you just have to share, don't hesitate to drop it in the chat. Now, if you want to make absolutely sure your message stands out and gets featured on the show, there's an easy way to do that. Use the super chat feature. Just click the $ at the bottom of the chat box to send in your super chat. This guarantees that your message gets on the air, and it's also a fantastic way to support our channel. We rely on your support. We rely on your support to keep bringing you the sports content you love, and we appreciate every bit of it. So go ahead, let us know what you're thinking. Hit that super chat button. Let's keep the show as interactive and exciting as possible. And if you prefer, you can also go to the GSMCpodcast.net to tip, donate, and leave a comment or question there. We couldn't do what we do without your amazing support, and we're so thankful to have you as part of our community. We have to start off, though, with the reports that Ten Hag is preparing as usual for Man United's upcoming match when they take on Brentford. Obviously, this is after the international break. Right now, it's in the international break. But when we come back, that's Saturday, October 19th. So obviously not this Saturday, but the Saturday after. They're taking on Brentford at Old Trafford, and there's reports that Ten Hag, he is preparing as usual for this game, despite this supposed meeting on Tuesday with him and Sir Jim Ratcliffe and some of the upper boards, some of the upper people in the executive committee, and and we know the continuous uncertainty surrounding his position with the end of last season now carrying over to the start of this season. Some devastating results that United have suffered, losing to Liverpool 3-0, losing to Brighton, losing to Liverpool 3-0, having, their last, not winning a game in their last 5 games in all competitions, suffering that really bad loss to Tottenham, only getting 2 points from your first 2 Europa League games against Twente and Porto. It's really been a shocking start to the season. Manchester United are sitting right now through 7 games, 14th place in the Premier League with 2 wins from 7, with a -3 goal differential. They're just not good enough. Their attack is one of the worst in the Premier League. They've only scored 5 goals this season, which puts them tied for the second worst in the league. The only teams that have scored less goals than Man United, the only team that scored less goals than Man United this season is Southampton, who is this newly promoted side. They're sitting on one point from the first 7 games, only 1 draw and 6 losses. It's unbelievable. And United only have that's the only team United have scored more goals than. The attack has been lackluster. They've lacked that dynamism. They've lacked the goals, quite frankly. 5 goals in 7 games. It's just not to the standard of Man United. And And this team is just very, very below the standards. They're just not good enough, and it just seems like a never-ending cycle. And my thing is, what is it? What is it gonna take at this point? Then, if you're starting off, if you're through your first seven games, and you only have 8 points, and you're sitting 14th, what does it really take for a manager to get fired? What does it take for Erik ten Hag to get fired? And Erik ten Hag, is he the main problem at United? No, United have had huge, huge, huge issues with the football club ever since Sir Alex Ferguson left, going all the way back. But at the same time, though, when you're trying to look at it from an objective point of view, even as a United fan, it's just not been good enough. What Ten Hag has overseen. It's just not been good enough. The way that they play, and the results is one thing, but the performances at the same time, they're bad as well. They're really bad. It's not just the results, it's the performances, it's the in-game decisions. It's some of the players that he brought in, his players. You're talking 100 million Anthony, you're talking Mason Mount, Eriksen, Onana. Players that he's had previous experience working with, or players that he wanted at the club that are not playing at the level. And then it's a combination of this. It's just everything surrounding the club is just toxic. It's toxic beyond analysis almost at this point. And you almost ask, if he was this close on the verge of being sacked at the end of last season, how can he, how does he survive finding himself 14th place through 7 games? And yes, he has won, the FA Cup and EFL Cup, and if you look at it from an objective point of view, that's pretty successful, because United, before that Carabao Cup that he won, not this past season, but the season before that, his first season, they were on a trophy drought for about, I believe it was since 2016 when they won the Europa League and Carabao Cup with Mourinho. They were on a massive trophy drought. So, and Andy Cole, he did come out saying, a little bit of backing for Erik ten Hag, saying Sir Alex Ferguson, the greatest manager in the club's history, didn't win a trophy in his first 3 years at Manchester United. Winning 2 cups in 2 seasons isn't easy to do, regardless of what others say. If it was easy to do, then everyone would. Yeah, I agree with it, that point too, but the cups now and the cups during Sir Alex Ferguson time is very, very different. Besides the Champions League, the FA Cup and EFL Cup doesn't have the same magnitude, it doesn't have the same intensity, especially from the bigger teams in the earlier rounds. So, but it is an achievement to win 2 trophies, especially when you look at what United have done the past few, with the trophy that they had. But again, with Manchester United, you're also going to be judged with your league performances. And quite frankly, not good enough. They had that good season where they finished 3rd place in Ten Hag's first year there. It was, getting 75 points over. It was a solid season, and you think you as a United fan, you think you're gonna build upon that. Then you go on the following year, you finish 8th. You play some dreadful football. It's just not good enough. Ten Hag almost gets sacked, and then a year later on, through 7 games, it's just even more alarming, and there's more questions than answers. And I'm looking at it, and if you're a United fan, and the thing that's even more depressing if you're a United fan is if you do sack Ten Hag, and you're looking at the odds, Gareth Southgate is the favorite to take over. Gareth Southgate is the favorite to take over. That will just be that'll be funny to watch. That will be absolute entertainment. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That will be that will be amazing to watch. But yeah, Ten Hag, in the summer he extended his contract until 2026. Is that playing a role in this as well? Potentially, maybe. I wouldn't really think it does, but I'm tired of coming on and saying the same things over and over again regarding Ten Hag. The fact that he's able to walk on this thin tightrope for as long as he's been able to walk is pretty impressive for what he's been able to do to be on the verge of getting fired for this long and still being the manager and potentially getting another opportunity. But you do have to say, post this international break, it has to be now. Like, if it wasn't before, it has to be make or break, like times 10. And they don't have the most difficult fixture list. Taking on Brentford, taking on one of their former managers and Jose Mourinho. You got West Ham, Leicester. Those 4 games, the results better start piling up. Because look, within that 4-game skit, if they disappoint, especially getting eliminated early in the AFL Cup when you take on Leicester, that would be a really, really bad look. Because one of the main things that Ten Hag has, as is something he can have a backbone over, is the fact that he's won a few trophies, and to lose an opportunity to Leicester, that would be a bad loss. They struggle against Fenerbahce, especially with the fact that United only have 2 points from the first 2 Europa League games. And then obviously the Brentford, West Ham Premier League games, they're obviously massive games, especially with United sitting in 14th. They need to rack up the points. So no, but overall, I am tired of saying the same things over and over again. So we'll see what happens. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we will react to AC Milan's penalty drama.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on their fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Before the break, we react to the reports that Ten Hag is preparing as usual for Brentford. We move on to react to AC Milan's penalty drama. So buckle up for this one. Very interesting thing. Didn't really get to cover it earlier on this week. This happened on Sunday. But I think it's something that I won't be doing justice if I didn't cover it. So basically, AC Milan taking on Fiorentina, and there was 2 penalty kicks Fiorentina won, and Christian Pulisic didn't take any of them despite being the designated penalty kick taker, and they went on to lose the game. So Fiorentina went up 1-0. First opportunity came with Theo Hernandez shortly before the half. Theo Hernandez, he is the captain at the club, which doesn't have anything to do with it, in the fact that that doesn't matter, who's the captain of the club, honestly. The penalty kick taker is the penalty kick taker, and that is Pulisic. But somehow Theo Hernandez was the one that ended up with the ball, and it's saved by De Gea, who saved both. In the second half, AC Milan got another opportunity, and this one was kind of incredible how this one played out. So the ball gets popped into the air, gets popped up in the air during the play that led to the penalty. And as the referee blows the whistle, you see Tomori jump up towards the ball and handing it to Tammy Abraham as if he's almost trying to make sure that Tammy Abraham is the one that takes that penalty. You see, we didn't see much from Pulisic's reaction in the first penalty kick incident, but this one you could see Pulisic trying to have a word. Obviously, Pulisic doesn't want to cause a scene or anything, but you could see Pulisic trying to have a word with Tammy Abraham, but Tammy Abraham ended up being the one who took it, and it got saved again. 2 saves, and AC Milan went on to equalize this in the 60th minute. Wonderful little half volley by Christian Pulisic. It was a sensational goal, I have to say. Sensational finish to make it a 1-1. Pulisic playing the best football of his career. What a player he is. He was able to equalize, make it 1-1. Fiorentina go on to win the game, actually, in the 72nd minute. They ended up winning the game with a winning goal from Gudmundsson, Albert Gudmundsson, and yeah, there was those shocking occurrences with 2 times in a row, they overlooked the penalty kick taker, some of the players on the pitch, and selfish moments leads to them wanting to take penalties. And Paulo Fonseca, he came out afterwards was expressing his frustration and his anger. He said, "Our designated penalty taker is Pulisic. I don't know why the players changed their minds. I have spoken to them and told them that this can't happen again." That for me, that's unbelievable. Number one, it's a lack of respect for your manager and the decision he made. Also, it's a lack of respect for Christian Pulisic, who is the penalty kick taker and who is having undeniably, out of all the AC Milan players, he's had the best season up to this point. In fact, he's been almost their saving grace, or else they'll really, be down there in the league table. He's been such an important part of this team with 6 goals so far. Big goals as well, critical goals in critical moments. The goal he scored in the Milan derby, this goal today to equalize. He's just been a huge part for AC Milan this season, and he's built off of a pretty good season he had last season. And it's a disrespect to Christian Pulisic as well. I do wish Pulisic had a little bit more stubbornness in him, a little bit more of that. I don't know I'm trying to find the word that I can use on the show. A little, let's say, Mamba mentality in him, in which he, demands for especially like the first one. It's the captain that's wanting to take the penalty. maybe Pulisic is just because that's someone he's the captain, he's an experienced player at AC Milan, but the second one, especially seeing the first one being missed, if I'm Pulisic there, you have to go and almost demand for the ball, because at the end of the day, he is in the right. He is the designated penalty kick taker. So even if he's afraid about how it looks or blah, 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 at the end of the day, he will be defended by the manager because he is the penalty kick taker. And where is the other leaders in that team? In that second occurrence, Theo Hernandez, why is he not stepping up? Even though he was part of the mishap in the first occurrence, he's the one that took the first penalty. Why is he not stepping in and getting the ball? Where's the leaders? Where's the leaders on the pitch? Alvaro Morata, I know he's just getting to AC Milan, but he's a 31-year-old, and I'm sure he knows who's the designated penalty kick taker. Where's the leadership? Tomori, he's one of these guys that have been at this club for a while now. So he has a good position in terms of the leadership of AC Milan. Not only did he not step in and be a leader in that situation, but he added fuel to the fire. He was the one that, in my opinion, he's just as involved in Tammy Abraham as he's the one jumping up in the air like a little kid at a candy shop, handing the ball off to Tammy Abraham. And I think he's just as culpable as Theo Hernandez and Tammy Abraham in this situation. Absolutely. With the way it played out, absolutely. And if I am Paulo Fonseca, I'm taking serious action. Serious action. Theo Hernandez, outstrip him. He's a captain. Depending on the situation, obviously. Because the Theo Hernandez one is a little bit unknown. Maybe he had the backing to take that penalty because, I don't know. Who knows? But if he did or didn't, if he didn't, and it was, he just wanted to take the penalty and it was a selfish moment, that's something you got to strip the captaincy away from him, because that's not a leader right there. And I think he should be omitted from the squad in the next game. By the way, Tammy Abraham, him at the same time, omitted from the squad from the next game. That cannot happen. By the way, this is a Tammy Abraham that is playing his first season at AC Milan. Pulisic has been here for 2 seasons now, so it's not like Abraham has a seniority over him. Tammy Abraham is playing his first season at AC Milan. He hasn't been quite frankly, he hasn't played that well for AC Milan as well. So far this season. Where did he get the guile to do something like that? He needs to be out of the squad for the next game. And Tomori, I'm stuck on this one. I think Tomori is almost even more responsible than Abraham and Hernandez, because him being sort of the neutral presence there, going up and almost backing, I don't know if they have some sort of friendship. They're both English. They both played for Chelsea together back in the Lampard days. And you can't remove Hernandez and Abraham for one game and, give Tomori more than one. I think that's a little not proper management. But I firmly believe Tomori is more responsible, and it's horrible what he did. Really, it's unacceptable, and I believe he definitely should not be in the squad for the next game. Because Paulo Fonseca, he cannot lose this team. He has to understand, he has to install discipline, and he has to have the authority, because the players, they don't respect his authority. So consequences need to come so that they can respect the authority of the manager, because this is a manager that right now, what we saw one time is one thing. 2 times overseeing the penalty kick taker, ignoring the designated penalty kick taker, it's disrespectful, and it's a lack of authority from the manager. It's a lack of authority from the manager, and the players have to suffer the consequences for it, so he can gain some of that authority back, and it can be a lesson to the rest of the players that witness this, that I am the manager, I am the boss, I am the one with full authority and autonomy from the football club. Everything comes with me, goes through me. So I think that's can be a huge thing for Paulo Fonseca to manage going forward, because this sort of situations cannot happen. They cannot happen. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we will do a preview of Colombo Matchday 9 World Cup qualifiers.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Before the break, we react to the AC Milan penalty drama. We move on to do a preview of Matchday 9 Colombo World Cup qualifiers. We're finally at the point after that last international window. We were halfway through the Colombo World Cup qualifiers. Now the second half of the Colombo World Cup qualifiers will begin, and interesting games going all around. First of all, Bolivia taking on Colombia. And there's an interesting element with this game. Colombia's manager, Nestor Lorenzo, has reported essentially that he believes that the Bolivian national team is spying. He has came out with that. He accused them. That was the word. He accused Bolivia of spying ahead of the World Cup qualifiers on Thursday at the Municipal Stadium El Alto, which is Bolivia's new national stadium. Holds less than the stadium at La Paz, but the altitude levels is even higher, so even more of that advantage that Bolivia really thrives on, and they took advantage of that atmosphere. Bolivia did in their last international window, where they had a massive international window. Entering the last international window, Bolivia found themselves really in a suffering position. They entered this last international window with only 3 points, and in the last international window, they go and they beat a Venezuelan team 4-0, a Venezuelan team that reached the semifinal of the Copa America, the quarterfinals of the Copa America. They won their group at the Copa America this summer, and then they beat Chile 2-1, and they did this away in Chile, which was even greater result in the fact that Bolivia historically really a poor team on the road in Colombo. They really take advantage of that La Paz the altitude that they have, and they will have that advantage going up against a Colombian team who's quite frankly one of the best national teams in the world, in the most hottest form that a national team can find themselves in. They've been playing some amazing football. They just got done beating Argentina, the reigning two-time Copa America winners and World Cup and the reigning World Cup champions. And they beat them 2-1, and it's a team in really good form and really good rhythm. But Colombia, they're gonna be going into Bolivia. The altitude is gonna be 3 o'clock as well. Colombia kind of suffer, suffer a little bit of their own medicine in the fact that Colombia played that Argentina game early, probably on purpose, so they could wear out the Argentinian players. Now Bolivia taking advantage of their home crowd, their altitude, the hot sun. It's going to be really difficult. It's going to be a game that I'm very looking forward to. I'm going to tune into this game. I normally, when it comes to Colombo World Cup qualifiers, I normally watch Brazil always, and then tune into an Argentina game or Uruguay game here and there, but I'm gonna tune into this one because I want to see how Colombia handle the atmosphere, the altitude, the heat in this high pressurized moment, and if Bolivia can continue on their momentum, because Bolivia, they find themselves 9 points tied with Paraguay, who's 7th, and they're only a point behind 5th place Brazil. Bolivia is. So because of last week's international window, you can have a really poor first 6 games, but in the last those two wins, puts them right back into the race to qualify for the World Cup, especially with this new expanded format. 6 teams in CONMEBOL automatically go through. 1 gets a interconfederation playoff opportunity. Right now, Bolivia find themselves tied for that position to go to the playoff, and they're only a point behind, team, 5th and 6th place, which will automatically get you to. So Bolivia are still in it, and they're right in the thick of it. So that's going to be an interesting game. There you have Ecuador taking on Paraguay. Paraguay find themselves sitting right now with 9 points, tied with Bolivia. Again, only a point behind Venezuela and Brazil. Speaking of Brazil, Paraguay had that big win at home over the Brazilian national team. They want to continue off that momentum. Ecuador, they find themselves sitting 4th place. But again, they're only a point ahead of Brazil, Venezuela, and 2 points ahead of Paraguay and Bolivia that find themselves 7th and 8th. So it's all congested in there. And these sort of results are important. Ecuador, they're going to be playing this game at home as well in Kyoto. They need to take advantage of these games. You don't want to slip up in these games with direct competitors, because Paraguay, they're sitting in 7th place, 3 spots below Ecuador, but there's only a 2-point difference. So Ecuador, with a poor window, they can find themselves from 4th to 8th like that. So they need to take advantage of these games. Big game between those two coming up. Venezuela take on Argentina. Argentina had that last game disappointing result to Colombia, but quite frankly, they still been the best team in CONMEBOL. They're sitting pretty at the top, 18 points, 2 clear of Colombia. They find themselves 8 points clear for Brazil. It's just Argentina. They have this consistency with Lionel Scaloni, the way that they play. They have an approach, a consistent approach to them. Not always the most pretty of football, but they always get it done. They're playing against, now they're going away though to Venezuela at the Monumental de Maturin in Maturin, Venezuela. Venezuela had a good Copa America, but not the best international window. They had a good point with Uruguay at home, in which they're difficult. Venezuela is a difficult outfit to take on at Venezuela. But when they went to Bolivia in that altitude, they got comfortably beaten 4-0. So I'd like to see how Venezuela bounced back from only getting 1 point in that last international window, now taking on Argentina and Paraguay. That's gonna be that's gonna be an interesting game, but honestly, these are all gonna be interesting games. These are all gonna be very interesting games. Brazil take on Chile. Quite frankly, Chile is a bottom feeder right now in CONMEBOL World Cup qualifiers, and CONMEBOL in general. Chile is just not good enough. They're not at that level. They're way too old, and they're the worst team in CONMEBOL, if not the worst. They're really close to Peru, who's one of those two teams. They're just both god awful, in Brazil, not at their most brightest moment in terms of Brazilian footballing history. Not the best moment for them, but Brazil just has too much talent. They're much better, even though it's going away to Chile. Look, if Brazil get anything less than a comfortable victory in this game, serious questions need to be asked about Dorviel Jr. And if you're not taking care of these games, then serious questions needs to be asked about Brazil's World Cup hopes. because they only find themselves 2 points away from being in a position where they don't qualify, and everything is that tightly congested. So you got to take advantage of the Chile and the Perus, who are Brazil's next 2 games in this window. It's almost comes at a perfect point for them to start building some momentum with getting the likes of Neymar back and build some momentum. So important game coming up for Brazil. Similar story with Uruguay and the fact that you're going up against a Peru team that's lack quality. Yes, Peru is at home, but Peru's the team on the bottom of CONMEBOL World Cup qualifiers. This game will be in Lima, but again, Uruguay just has too much quality, and we know the drama surrounding Uruguay now with Marcelo Bielsa. I'd like to see how everything shapes out in this international window. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we will react to Luis de la Fuente's frustration with the Spanish Federation over his contract.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Before the break, we did a preview of CONMEBOL Matchday 9 World Cup qualifiers. We move on to react to Luis de la Fuente's frustration with the Spanish Federation over his contract. So, yeah, this was a little bit surprising in how vehement he was, Luis de la Fuente, how clear and forward he was about his opinion. First of all, Luis de la Fuente, he is a new manager in terms of the international, in terms of not international, but in terms of this, Spanish, managing the Spanish national team. He came in 2022 after the point, or the end of 2022, after Luis Enrique left Spain. Really, he came in 2023. The World Cup finished in December of 2022. So he really came in 2023, managed his first games in 2023. And he's been involved with the Spanish youth ranks and all that. But yes, he's a new manager in terms of the senior international level. But he's not a young manager. This is a 63-year-old. So, he has some wisdom with everything that he says and his approach to things. And yeah, he just came out and he was very clear and front forward about his contract and his salary and all that. De La Fuente said, it is not normal for a European champion to be without a contract. I don't know if the same thing would have happened with Luis Enrique. For me, it is not normal for a European champion to be out of contract. I have had offers as usual. What is not normal is that the reigning European champions, I don't know if it has ever happened in history, are without a contract. I have the same conditions as when I was promoted from the U21s. It would have been fair if he had signed the contract already. Spain, they're getting ready to play Denmark and Serbia in the Nations League in this international window. But yeah, honestly, that is a little bit shocking to me with, first of all, how clear and forward he was and how open and willing he was to talk about his federation that employs him. And maybe he's doing this based on, and obviously he has leverage. He won a European Championship with Spain, and in my opinion, he doesn't get the respect for the way that they played. Having a good you know, a good variety in terms of being able to control the game, play tiki-taka, but also being a little bit more direct with Nico Williams and Lamine Yamal, and getting these young guys and putting them, not a lot of Spanish national team managers would have played Cucurella and started him over the likes of a Grimaldo, but Cucurella, he was the left back of the tournament, but I believe so. He made some very important decisions. He had trust in players like Lamine Yamal, like Nico Williams, like Alvaro Morata, who did the job for them. He had a very good in-game adjustments, substitutions, tactical adjustments. He wasn't outmanaged in any game. In fact, I believe he managed the tournament really, really well. He was, the first two games, they won in pretty comfortable fashion. He was able in that third game to rest all his players. Every decision he made was completely spot on. So, my thing is, and, Spanish Federation right now, they're in a weak point because last time I checked, they don't even have a president with everything that's been going on. You go back to the Rubiales and the incident with the Women's World Cup team. And then on top of that, there was the other president. Pedro Rocha, he was suspended in July by the Spanish Sports Council for 2 years due to a serious infraction. So they're in a FA crisis, and maybe that has had something to do with it, them not really getting to the agenda of Luis Enrique. Maybe that has an element to, not Luis Enrique, Luis de la Fuente. Maybe that has something to do with it. But again, you have to take care of the manager that won you a European championship. I mean, it's ridiculous. That has to be priority number one. It has to be priority number one, especially this is one of your own. This is someone that came up the ranks, that worked his way up, that is, 60, that when he was 61, he finally got his first opportunity to be the international team manager. And in this first go at it in a major international tournament, he wins it. This is a Spanish national team that hasn't won an international tournament now before this European Championship in 12 years. He wins it. He plays some really, really good football. Look at some of the performances the Spanish national team have put on in these past few international tournaments. It has been abysmal. You're talking about getting eliminated in the round of 16 to Morocco. You're talking, they had a decent European Championship in 2021, in which they really got lucky when they got past Croatia and Switzerland to reach that semifinal. But that's not near there. That was a decent run. By the way, in the group stages, they were poor. They drew their first two games against Sweden and Poland. But let's just say, okay, that was a decent international tournament. You go back then, you got the eliminated in the round of 16 to Russia in 2018. In 2016, you get eliminated in the round of 16 to Italy. In 2014, you get eliminated in the group stages. Since that European Championship win in 2012, the Spanish national team has not had much success at major international tournaments. And for Luis de la Fuente to come in and his first go at it to win it, and to win it in dominant fashion, they were from the beginning to the tournament to the end undoubtedly the best team. They were the best team from the minute one. We knew from that opening day statement that they had against Croatia, or not opening day, the second day of the tournament, we all knew this is the team to beat. I knew it. The pundits knew it. Even if the English pundits didn't want to admit it, no, the Spanish national team was the best team from minute one. They were just playing such good football. They had players playing at elite level. They had they were playing as a unit good football. So for me, the Spanish Federation, they need to address this, and the fact that it's gotten to the point that Luis de la Fuente is having to come out and say something so public about it probably shows that it's been a frustration journey over him over the past few months. And there was a little bit of reports of offers after the European Championship win. That I heard a little bit of reports saying the U.S. men's national team, there was some interest between the sides. Well, let's be real. Luis de la Fuente, he was not gonna leave the Spanish national team for the U.S. men's national team. That was never gonna happen. Let's get back to reality. Let's get back to reality. I, as an American, you offer me the Spanish national team or the U.S. men's national team. I'm going to take the Spanish national team because I have more chance of being successful. So obviously a Spaniard is not going to leave his role as a Spanish national team manager to go to the U.S. I don't know if someone needed a reality check there, but I will give it. So, yeah, for me, it's a very interesting situation. But, if I'm Luis de la Fuente, I'm making sure, you want to take advantage, you don't want this to cause any sort of, decay in their performances. You want to, take care of Denmark and Serbia in this international break. You want to continue the good performances he's had, to continue to build momentum and leverage for him in that contract negotiation room, so he can get that, the contract he deserves, because he shouldn't have the same salary that he had when he was originally signed as the Spanish national team manager. There should definitely be a race when you win an European Championship. That's a big thing. That's not some small accomplishment. So, Spain overall, they have a great future. Winning the European Championship, the Olympic team, they won it. They beat France in the final at the Parc des Princes in Paris, beating a French team that was very loaded. They have the Spanish national team have a good thing that they're building, and really, it's almost not a reflection of how it is in the upper board of the Royal Spanish Federation, because of all the turmoil there, going back to the Spanish women's national team winning the World Cup, all the incidents that occurred in those post-game celebration. With all the turmoil, the product that's been on the field for Spanish national team has still been absolutely brilliant, and they've been able to almost distract us from that. But when you hear what's going on with De La Fuente and him being so open about it, it makes you go back to, there's still turmoil there, despite winning the European Championship. But we're going to take a short break here. When we come back, we'll react to some of the top soccer headlines. Before the break, we discussed De La Fuente's frustration with the Spanish Federation over his contract. We move on to react to some of the top headlines, and we have to start off with Cole Palmer. He has won the England national team player of the year despite his extremely limited time on the pitch, specifically talking about the European Championship. And this was a player that was voted ahead of the likes of Jude Bellingham, Bukayo Saka. You know, I mean, I don't know how that works exactly with, because the English national team player of the year, men's player of the year, doesn't that belong to, who's been the best performer for the England national team? I assume that's how it worked. That's what I assume, but apparently not because of that, and I don't know. I don't know. But I do have to say, I think he is England's most important player now, and it's someone that they have to find into the team, whatever role. Find him. He needs to find the pitch. He needs to be in a place that he can succeed because of the end product. Because the end product he provides, and just the pure talent and pure big game ability, we saw already. Despite his limited opportunities, big moments in the European Championship, assist in the semi-final to win it. Ollie Watkins, equalizer in the final, really good goal by him. He has that clutch DNA to him. He's a big-time player, big-time moments. He's built for this. He has huge mentality too. When you see how he, left City to pursue playing football, he's not a player of the bottle like Mourinho would say. So yeah, I think he's a hugely important player. Let's go to Erling Haaland. He does not regret throwing the ball at Gabriel Magalhaes after City equalized with them in their, very, dramatic 2-2 draw with Arsenal. When he was asked about this in the international break, in Norway, being asked by the journalist, he said it was in the heat of the moment and a lot of stuff happened in that game. Things that happen on the pitch stay there, and that's how it is. When he was asked if he regretted throwing the ball, he said, "I don't regret much in life." Yeah, okay, yeah, I guess I don't know. That's for me that's crazy, but I don't respect throwing the ball whenever someone's turned around, but okay. Jurgen Klopp, he has been announced with an exec role to become the head of soccer at Red Bull. We know Red Bull, they have the energy drink manufacturer, have a lot of clubs, Leipzig, Salzburg, Red Bull FC, New York Red Bull, and he's expected to be a mentor for them as he becomes their head of global soccer starting in January, and he's going to oversee the international network of clubs. It said the statement from Red Bull said he will not be involved in the club's day-to-day operations, but will provide strategic vision, supporting individual sporting directors, and advancing the Red Bull philosophy. Additionally, the 57-year-old will support the organization's global scouting operations and contribute to the training and development of coaches. Klopp said this himself in a statement with Red Bull. After almost 25 years on the sideline, I could not be more excited to get involved in a project like this. The role may have changed, but my passion for football and the people who make the game what it has not. It's also been reported the German Sky Sports reported, Sky Sports Germany, that Klopp actually has a clause in that contract that will allow him to be available for the German national team job if it becomes available. We know Nagelsmann, he is the current coach for them, and he'll more likely than not, or he has a contract through the 2026 World Cup, and he will more likely not be the manager through there. And we assume that Nagelsmann after is gonna want to go back into the club scene, back into managing day to day for a club, and maybe it seems like Jurgen Klopp likes the idea of not having to do day-to-day, be involved, but still be involved in football. For me, international management could be perfect for him, especially managing your home country, a German national team now that's getting back to, the previous, great German national teams. I could see that be a really, really good role for Jurgen Klinsmann, because I do want to see Jurgen Klinsmann continue to manage. He's a big character, and in a good way, not in a bad way, in a good way, a positive character. I enjoy watching his teams play football. I enjoy just his presence, watching a Jurgen Klopp team. So I do hope that there is a time that he does go and manage Germany, because I don't want this to be the end of, because we're not going to get to see a Klopp managed team with this Red Bull thing. It's just sort of an executive thing. I don't even know exactly what it is, but there is some Dortmund fans who are a little riled by this. Klopp, he was the manager for Borussia Dortmund, and his reputation amongst some Dortmund fans is taking a little bit of a hit, because of his appointment as the head of global soccer at Red Bull. Red Bull does own RB Leipzig, who is a main competitor for Borussia Dortmund, and also there is that criticism regarding Leipzig with the 50+1 rule, with how teams are managed, essentially fans owning the majority of shares, and other people have believed that Leipzig has exploited that system, and I've gotten around that by not naming. By stating teams must not be named after the sponsors, by officially calling the club Rasenball Sports Leipzig instead of Red Bull Leipzig. And there's a lot of things there. And Dortmund have been hugely critical over Leipzig as well. But I don't, that's an even longer story that, quite frankly, we don't have time to cover in this segment. Maybe later on. Alisson, he's gonna be out for 6 weeks with a hamstring injury. That's a big loss for Liverpool. Now Keller, he's a really, really good number 2. So obviously, it's not the biggest deal. You would think if Liverpool knew this before the season, maybe they would have tried to keep Mamardashvi, who they loaned after they signed him. They loaned him back to Girona, to Valencia. They loaned him back to Valencia. So it's important, because I think Liverpool right now, I legitimately think they are going to be in a title race, and with the title race with cities nowadays, every drop point matters. So could this be a difference maker? I think it can, because Keller, he's a really, really good goalkeeper, but he's not on the level of Alisson, and it only takes that one mistake, and it could completely shake it up for Liverpool. CONCACAF has announced that SoFi Stadium will be hosting the 2025 Nations League final, and they'll also be hosting 2027, which is after the World Cup. So that doesn't really, quite frankly, matter right now. But the semifinal, third place, and championship games will all be played at SoFi, and Hollywood Park will host festivities around the CONCACAF Nations League in 2025. Obviously, this is depending on if the U.S. men's national team can get there, this is Pochettino's first opportunity to win a trophy and to do it in the bright lights at SoFi Stadium in LA. What a way to do it. What a way to do it in Hollywood as well. I'm very excited for that. Thank you guys for tuning in to the GSMC Soccer Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. Thank you once again and have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.